Godhead, Vasudeva. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udiraye. Before reciting Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama-shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in the classes on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Paramananda Pathaya Premavarshi Aksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namastate. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for joining. We are reading Granth-raj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 8, and yesterday we completed chapter number 10, entitled The Battle Between the Demigods and the Demons. So, in this chapter, we'll do a quick summary here, and then we'll try to take some reflections also. So, in this chapter, we learn that how Mohini Murti had already given the nectar, and demigods got the nectar and demons got nothing. Tai fish. So, and we discussed that how a person who is not remembering Krishna or Vishnu will not get anything in life and will lose everything. So, then there's a war. The demons are very angry that, hey, how come you get everything? And they were very upset. Para sukha dukhi. That's a demoniac quality. To see others getting something and how come I not get that thing, it's envy, jealous, and Mohini Murti departs from the scene. But the demons are very unhappy. And now they wage a war. And then there is description, very, very ghastly description about the war, that how they were carried there. The description is about the sound, the conch shell, the bugles, the drums and elephants, and the shoulders, their carriers and jackals and lions and elephants and hawks, etc. And then is the decorations about the flags and festoons and whatnot. And then Bali Maharaj seated on his Uchishra, the horse, and on his plane. And then he had a lot of powers. Then the description on his side, that is the demons. And then there is description of Indra seated on Airavata. Sorry, the Bali Maharaj was not sitting on that horse. Actually, he got that horse from the Samudra Manthan, but here it's mentioned he was seated on an airplane made by Maya demon. So, and then description of King Indra and his elephant and the soldiers on his side. And then from text number 27 to 35, there is vivid description of who was fighting with whom, like Indra fighting with Bali, Lord Shiva fighting with Jambha, Tvashta fighting with Sambara, Rudras fighting with Krodha Vasas, Vasus fighting with Kaikyas, etc. But a very important point to note in text number 1 is Vasudeva Para Mukha. That means those who have turned their face away from Vasudeva. And an opposite quality of divine or the demigods is Narayana Padashraya. And we discuss that Their real weapon being the shelter of Lord Narayana. Narayana Pada Ashraya. And then why do people fight? We discussed that. Who remembers? Anyone remembers? Why do people fight? And how can the fighting be stopped? Anyone knows the answer? Okay, Prabhupada mentions in text number 6, purport, that the fighting is because of lack of Krishna consciousness, and it can be stopped when people on both sides take to Krishna consciousness. When we forget Krishna, then the selfishness comes in, and then we forget about our true nature, and then the two brothers fight. But no father likes to see his children, her children, fight. Similarly, Krishna, being the supreme father, will not like his children to see fight with each other. So when we take to Krishna consciousness, then we will stop fighting, and we will be happy. Then they start to sever one another's head. Very, very ghastly fight. The limbs and the lances and the bushandis and the clubs, all the different weapons are destroyed. The dust and the blood, you can imagine. There is a description of dust, there is a description of ghost. And from 41 to 52, how Bali Maharaj is attacking Indra. There is very, very vivid description that how Bali Maharaj used 10 arrows to kill Indra. But Indra also was very strong. Indra had a lot of powers, a lot of Shaktis. And with his Shakti, he was kind of defending and destroying the Bali Maharaj's weapons. Then the demigods were very, very morose when Bali Maharaj started to use his illusory demoniac powers. What were those? The trees blazing in a forest fire, sharp chips of stones coming, animals coming, ferocious animals, lions, tigers, bears, boars, elephants, scorpions, all the poisonous, and many, many fierce demons attacked the demigods by the mystic powers or the illusory powers of Bali Maharaj, and the demigods were morose. Then there's a very, very nice lesson which we meditated upon. Is they took shelter of whom? Krishna, Bhagavana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Lord appeared to protect his devotees. And we discussed this yesterday only, text 55. Hari Smriti Sarva Vipad Vimokshanam. When one remembers Hari or Krishna, Sarva Vipad, all the vipatti, all the difficulties, Vimokshanam, are destroyed. So the doubts, the illusions, and we discuss the state of sleeping and awakening, etc. So fearlessness, etc., only comes when we take shelter of Krishna. So I think Tarun knows this verse, right? Tarun Kuthari Prabhu, you know that verse, Sakrideva Prapannaya. You want to share?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Happy to see you. You want to share the verse? I think you recently shared in Sakrideva. You know what I'm talking? Lord Ram said.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Lord Ram's verse, Sakrideva Prapannaya.
Yes, Prabhuji. Iskarte eva prapanno yas. Twasmiti jayachate. Abhayam sarvadatashnaya. Dadat etadvratam mama. Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much. Very nice.
Very good.
This Lord
Yes,
Ram
Prabhuji.
says this famous verse when Vibhishana comes, crosses, that he leaves his everything. Just imagine. He's going to the side of the enemy, leaving his brother who was a demon, and just complete shelter of Lord Ram. So Lord Ram says that even once, if says, "Oh my Lord, I am yours." Let's everyone say in our hearts, "Oh my Lord, I am yours." Krishna, Ami to tumar, tumi to amar. I am yours, you are mine. Even in our heart, when genuinely every day at least once we should say, Krishna, you are my real mother, you are my real father, you are my real friend, my real husband, wife, friend, well-wisher. In that way, try to develop a connection with the Supreme Lord. Then Krishna will give us fearlessness. Abhayam sarva bhutebhyo. He'll give fearlessness to all of us. And we were discussing about fearlessness also. So Krishna appeared. Lord Vasudev, Lord Krishna, Lord Hari appeared when the demigods were in a very, very difficult situation. And in front of Krishna, no illusion can, it's come in front of Krishna. He is the remover of all the, the illusion. And a very nice lesson. Then he destroyed Kalanemi with the same trident which Kalanemi was trying to kill Vasudev or Vasudev. A very important lesson. He was trying to kill Vasudev. The same trident became a cause of his death. And then he also killed Kalanemi, and then followed by Mali, Sumali, and Maldevan. And then this chapter comes to a sweet ending. The battle is still going on. So that's the summary of this chapter. So we can take some reflections. Anything you liked, anything struck you, anything really inspired you in this chapter before we move on to chapter number 11. Would someone like to share any thoughts, questions? First, let's take some reflections. Yes, Prabhu.
Arjun Prabhuji, Pranam, all goes to Srila Prabhupada. So in this chapter, one thing struck me most that sometimes in this metal world we see that demonic people or people or atheists, they are doing by their materially they are doing very good, and we sometimes feel envy that we should not do, but ultimately that is transient and not long lasting and not also complete, because here we see in two cases like Rahu, though being a demon, took the came to disguise himself and got the nectar, but Lord ultimately he chopped off his head and it did not last long. But temporarily it looked like the demon got it, but he could not get it completely. And second thing, Shukracharya also bring back the demon from death. They get the life back, but again Krishna kill them. So whatever the demon gets in this metal world, definitely they're not getting spiritual anything. Even the metal world, it will not be long lasting and it will not be complete.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice lessons. Anyone has any other reflections?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Uh, uh, I observe this is basically no matter how much work you do, but if you are not with the God, the outcome will be different. We just saw that demons and these demigods, basically they did the same work in terms of churning the ocean, but one is with the God and another is not with the God. Hence the outcome is different. Another thing is, it struck me that similarly in the material world, if we do not control our greed and anger, all kind of these uh, things, then basically you are declaring the war on yourself. That's I got it, Prabhu. From this. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, thank you. The lesson you shared is actually a verse in chapter 9, text 28. I'll just read for our purification. Samaha, Desha, Kala, Heta. Hetu is motive. Kya hetu? Hetu. Artha, Kama, Matayo. Api Phala Vikalpa. But the Phala was different. Their objective was same, their ambition was same, the activity was same, the place was same, the cause was same, purpose was same. They were doing everything the same, but the phala was different. Well, why was the phala different? Why was the fruit different? Yad pad pankaj rajah sharanyam na daitya. Because the demigods had taken shelter of Yad pad pankaja sharanyam. Sharanyan. Very nice verse. Therefore, the phala was different. Na daityan. The daityas had not taken that shelter, and the demigods had taken shelter. That's the whole, the calculation changes. The main ingredient, the activity was same, purpose was same, place was same, time was same, everything was same, but the main ingredient was Krishna's shelter. That led to whole difference in the result. Phala. Very nice, Prabhu. Thank you. Anyone else wants to share any reflections, lessons from this chapter?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. So in this chapter, the two component. One is, as Prabhu mentioned, so like Bali Maharaj created Maya. Like we may feel in real life there are a lot of complex things. We unnecessarily we will break our head seeing a lot of things which cannot be resolved. We will think we'll be afraid of future and lot of things. But at the end, if we surrender to the God, and automatically all those things will vanish. That is first component. And second component, as you mentioned in the previous discussion, that uh, when what we pass it to others, it will come back to you. Like when somebody is throwing an arrow to God, the God has taken that and given back. It's not only to the God. Even if you talk someone nicely, you will get a nice word, and if you do something angry thing or something not good to others, you will get the same thing. So these are the two components I observed. Thanks for this.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very nice reflections, Prabhu. Yasudhir Prabhu has to share, please.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. So I think, as Prabhuji mentioned, um, so we have to always take the shelter of Lord Krishna, no matter what kind of Maya or anything. Indra was a king of the all the demigods, and he has all the power, but still he was not able to, because he was trying by himself, without depending. But once they depend on Krishna, no matter what Maya or even whatever the uh, power he had, could not help Indra. But once he took shelter of Lord Krishna, everything started falling in place. So in our daily activities also, first we have to do ourselves, but uh, Damodarastakam, two fingers. So our endeavor and Krishna's mercy, both are important. We cannot just finish or achieve without whatever is given. We should think that it is the mercy of Lord Krishna, if it is good or bad, anything. That's my understanding. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. I really like your reflection when you mentioned actually Indra was, by his Shakti, he was able to cut the weapons of Bali Maharaj in text 43 and 44. But when Bali is, restored to demoniac illusions, then there is no mention that, then the mention is that the demigod soldiers were very, very morose. In short, Their own strength was not sufficient to counteract the effects of the illusory energy. Similarly, if I feel that I can win over the illusory energy on my own, with my wealth, with my strength, with my intelligence, with my beauty, with my scholarship, with my this or that, that we may be, able to do sometimes little weapons we may be able to destroy. And then we may feel, oh, I'm great. But when the real test will come, Devi Esha Gudavai Mamma Duratya, very, very difficult. Until we take shelter of Krishna, and that's what the demigods had done. And then they were able to, the illusory energy could not withstand. It's a very nice reflection. Thank you. Anyone else before we move on to the next chapter? Any Mataji's want to share?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I really liked all the reflections. I hope you're asking me.
Yeah, yes, please.
Okay, Haribol. And that even though demons and demigods are doing same endeavor, the Shruti was different, and Indra's point that until he prayed, it didn't occur. And then going back to text 38, Prabhupada says that the dust reached sun planet, but it didn't reach moon planet. And so fast, within few lines, Prabhupada is proving that it is impossible that the scientists didn't go to the moon. And in 4 days is therefore impossible. At the speed of 18,000 miles per hour, how could it reach the moon in 4 days? So I really like how Prabhupada, from a simple one line of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, he concludes such a big truth. I really like that his ability, that he completely believes in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam words. That's the pramana, that's the Purana. And then we can, if we really stick to those words, we really can prove big theories. And I really like that. Hare Krishna, back to you, Prabhu. Thank you, Dandavats.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Okay. So now,
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada, Hare
yes,
Krishna, all
please.
devotees. Prabhuji, in this chapter, I really like two words. One was Vasudeva Paramika, and the other one was Narayana Padashraya. Sometimes I feel that when demons inside me are more strong, I fall in the first category. And sometimes when I surrender to Krishna, I fall in the second category. So I used to keep struggling within myself. But true peace is when I surrender to Lord and when I leave everything to Him. And then He reciprocates that when you leave in my hands, I'm there for you. So stop struggling. Just stop struggling within. This is what I have learned. And throughout the chapter, these two words are every time within me, asking myself that when it's really tough situation, what am I doing? Am I struggling or am I surrendering? So after reading this chapter, that surrendering part has really grown up higher than the struggling part, because I know there are many demons within me. So when that surrender comes, they are really settled down. This is what I have really learned from this chapter, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. That's amazing. Wonderful. And I request everyone to learn these two phrases, Vasudeva Paranmukha and Narayana Padashraya. Because every moment either we are in this boat or that boat. There is no middle boat in life. Either we have turned away from Krishna, Vasudeva Paranmukha, or we have turned towards Krishna, Narayana Padashraya. So every moment we can ask this choice. I am being Vasudeva Paranmukha, or am I acting Narayana Padashraya? And the result is also mentioned. So one wants to learn a little more phrase in text 55, last line. It's also a very nice phrase to remember and learn. Hari Smriti Sarva Vipad Vimokshanam. Very nice and easy. Hari Smriti Sarva Vipad Vimokshanam. That means Those who are Narayana Padashraya, that means remembering Krishna, Hari Smritihi, Sarva Vipad, all their difficulties, all challenges, all turbulence, Vimukshanam, will be immediately Vimukta in Shana. Vimukti in Shana Bharma. Immediately that all the Sarva Vipada one will be freed of those. And there will be no anxiety, no stress, no difficulties in the life of a person who has done Narayana Padashraya. Thank you. Anyone else before we move on to the next chapter? Okay, thank you so much for churning this wonderful nectar of this wonderful chapter. So let's move on to the next chapter, which is entitled chapter number 11, actually. King Indra annihilates the demons. So now the Lord has appeared. He has already killed 4 demons. So let's see what happens next. We'll start with the summary. Raise your hand if you would like to read the summary. Who has not got a chance yesterday to read?
I can read, Prabhu.
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna Dandavat Pranam. Chapter 11, King Indra annihilates the demons. As described in this chapter, the great saint Narad Muni, being very compassionate to the demons who had been killed by the demigods, forbade the demigods to continue killing. Then Shukracharya, by his mystic power, renewed the lives of all the demons. Having been graced by the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, the demigods began fighting the demons again with renewed energy. King Indra released his thunderbolt against Bali, and when Bali fell, his friends Jambasura attacked Indra, who then cut off Jambasura's head with his thunderbolt. When Narad Muni learned that Jambasura had been killed, he informed Jambasura's relatives Namuchi, Bala, and Paka, who then went to the battlefield and attacked the demigods. Indra, king of the heaven, severed the heads of Bala and Paka and released the weapon known as Kulisa, the thunderbolt, against Namuchi's shoulder. The thunderbolt, however, returned unsuccessful, and thus Indra became morose. At that time, an unseen voice came from the sky. The voice declared, "A dry or wet weapon cannot kill Namuchi." Hearing this voice, Indra began to think of how Namuchi could be killed. He then thought of foam, which is neither moist nor dry. Using a weapon of foam, he was able to kill Namuchi. Then Indra and the other demigods killed many demons. Then, at the request of Lord Brahma, Narad went to the demigods and forbade them to kill the demons any longer. All the demigods then returned to their abode, following the instructions of Narada. Whatever demons remained alive on the battlefield took Bali Maharaja to Asta mountains. Thereby, the touch of Shukracharya's hand, Bali Maharaj regained his senses and consciousness, and those demons whose heads and bodies had not been completely lost were brought back to life by the mystic power of Shukracharya. Hare Krishna, back to you.
Thank you, Prabhu, for reading the summary. Again, the battle is still going on. In the last chapter, we read more about how the demons were attacking the demigods. In this chapter, we see the other side. So let's start and see what Srila Prabhupada is trying to teach, what Srila Shukadeva Goswami is speaking today for our purification. Let's start with the first verse. Yes, Kashish Mataji, you want to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Text 1. Shri Shuka Uvacha Athosura Pratyuplabdha Chetasah Parasya Punsah Paraya Anukampaya Jagnur Shakra Samira Radaya Stan Rane Yera Visanhatah Pura. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Only translation. Shukadeva Goswami said, thereafter, by the supreme grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Hari, all the demigods, headed by Indra and Vyasa, were brought back to life. Being enlivened, the demigods began severely beating the very same demons who had defeated them before. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So in this text, we learned that by the grace of Supreme Lord, the demigods get back their form and the energy, and they were ready to fight back with the demons with more enthusiasm and faith that Lord has insisted in them. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, back to you.
Thank you. Very nice. It was a very nice lesson. I was thinking or reflecting upon this, that sometimes we may think, oh, I am great. Oh, I can destroy Bali's weapon with my own strength, with my own Shakti. Here that weapon of Bali refers to, for a sadhaka, the enemies, lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, illusion. Sometimes one may think, oh, now I am a senior devotee. I can handle these things easily. They are no big deal for me. But then what will happen? Then we become Vasudev Paranmukha. And we lost the Narayana Padashraya. As we discussed before, we are either in this boat or that boat. So we come in the boat of Vasudeva Paranmukha. That means focusing more on my strength, my intelligence, my scholarship, etc. As a result, what happened? Those Shaktis overpowered. So the lust, anger, greed will easily overpower us when we leave the shelter. But when we again take shelter, the Lord is very merciful, so somehow He will arrange, if one is sincere, and try to revive his devotee, either through spiritual master or through other Vaishnavas or through his own energy in some way. And then one comes in the true state back of Narayan Padashraya. And then that same person will be able to defeat lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, illusion, if one becomes Narayan Padashraya back again. So that's how the demigods were able to kind of defeat the very demons whom they were defeated by just before Lord came. So when Lord comes, we can defeat these demons. It's like a match of kabaddi. Maya Shakti is on the other side to put us into illusion by so many allurements. But if Kṛṣṇa is on our side, then we can win over. If Kṛṣṇa is not on our side, then can we win over Kṛṣṇa's energy? No, impossible. Okay, let's read next verse. Next number 2. Yes, Babu Prabhu, you want to read?
Hare Krishna. Vairochanya samrabdo Bhagavan Pakashasana
udayachad yada vajram prajaha heti chukrusam. Translation: when the most powerful Indra became angry and took his thunderbolt in hand to kill Maharaj Bali, the demons began lamenting, "Alas, alas." So Indra took the powerful weapon, and demons are now kind of worried, and they feel it's kind of no concern to them because the demigod's hand is now somewhat more power now. Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Quite straightforward. So our strength comes again from Narayan Padashraya. Without Krishna's strength, what happened to Indra and Vayu? They were, looks like it's not mentioned in the last chapter, but looks like they were pretty much unconscious, or because otherwise that's how the Lord, the Supreme Personality of, by His grace, they were brought back to life. Like how Shukracharya was reviving the demons, the Supreme Lord was on his side. What's Shukracharya in front of the Supreme Lord? He may have myth Sanjeevani, but ultimately, whatever energies one has is given by the Supreme Lord. So they were in serious situation, but now those very same demigods are able to overpower the demons and this thunderbolt. So let's see what happens. Yes, Tarun Prabhu, you want to read?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Please.
Vajrapanishtam ahedam tiraskritya purashtitam manasvinam shusapannam vicharantam mahamrite. Translation: sober and tolerant and well equipped with paraphernalia for fighting Bali Maharaj, before Indra on great battlefield. King Indra, who always carries the thunderbolt in his hand, rebuked Bali Maharaj as follows. Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. You got such nice tilak. Very nice. One who puts tilak on the forehead does not see the face of Yamaraj. That means that person, that devotee, goes back home, back to Godhead. It's a very nice story which I shared in the kids class last time. For those who want to hear, you can turn to that in the beginning I shared. And even those who hear that story, they also go back home, back to Godhead. That's the glories of Gopi Chandan. So yeah, coming back to this verse. So Shukdev Goswami, interestingly, his Gris Gauranga Darshan Prabhu was mentioning this point, that he uses sometimes very nice words to address Bali Maharaj indirectly, to share like what's going to come in future. Sober and tolerant. These words are used for Bali Maharaj. Correct? Sober, patient, and tolerant Bali Maharaj. He moved before Indra. And King Indra rebuked Bali Maharaj. So let's see what King Indra said. How did he rebuke Bali Maharaj? Let's see. Anyone has any comments or questions before we move on to the next verse, or what we have read so far, or in the previous chapter? Okay, let's read one more verse for today and then we will pause. Would someone like to read this one? Rakesh Prabhu wants to read. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna devotees, text 4. Natavan mudha mayabhir mayeshanno jigisasi jitva balan nibhaddakshan nato harati tat danam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. As a cheater sometimes binds the eyes of a child and trying to defeat us by displaying some mystic power. Although, Prabhu. Indra said, "O rascal, as a cheater sometimes binds the eyes of a child and takes away his possessions. You are trying to defeat us by displaying some mystic power. Although you know that we are the masters of all such mystic powers." Prabhuji, please explain. Back to you.
How many of you have done that? Tricked a child and take something from his or her hand, right? And then they'll say, hey, okay, there's a pencil. Oh, look at the pencil, it's gone, right? So, nato natya dharo yatha. The word used is nata. Krishna is also cheater. Tatha paramahamsanam muninam amalatmanam bhakti yoga vidhanartham katham pashyamahi striyaha. What's the other verse, which is some in Kunti Maharani's prayers? Let me check that verse. It's very important to share that with you. It's interesting. We sing that every day, but when the time to recollect comes, I don't remember. Anyone remembers? Okay.
What, Prabhu? Your voice was muffled.
The Kunti Maharani's prayers, Nato Natya Dharo. Yeah. Maya Javanika Chandam Agyadhokshajam Avyayam Nalakshase Mura Drisha Nato Natya Dharo Yatha. The same. Krishna is in doing his, acting as a cheater or a actor, natak. There's the word nata here also. Natavat. As a cheater or as an actor, we can say, he acts as if he has, some powers and takes the possession of a child. So similarly, here Indra is rebuking that by showing this mystic power, you think you are great. Who is the lord of all the mystic powers? Well, we are the lord of the mystic powers. We are the master of all such mystic powers. You're trying to defeat us by displaying such these natak, like in front of a child. You think we are child in short. So in short, King Indra is angry. And battle means passion. Battle means anger. So nice. Anything else anyone wants to add or share before we pause for today? Any questions, comments? Okay, so it's time. We will pause here and we will study the next verses tomorrow and see what happens in this chapter ahead. Grantraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Purana Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Samveda Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare
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 Krishna.
Krishna.
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितनां
Nam
पावनेभ्यो
Pavanebhyo
वैष्णवेभ्यो
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Connect.